Cindy, good afternoon. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today and talk a little bit about Tesfa, but nice to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay. One of the big questions that I receive all the time is, how do you pick your honorees? And it's really word of mouth. In the beginning, they were Northstar people, but then we branched out. And so was it last September or October you and I sat down? I think it was October.
It might have been, well, probably was November or December-ish time
okay.
frame. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we met at Dunkin' Donuts, and you brought the information about Tesfa to me, and I said right away, yes, he's definitely somebody that we would like to honor and with the situation. So give me a little background in your relationship knowing Tesfa.
So I met Tesfa and Sharlyn and Liam through Legacy Park's Cub Scout Pack 002. And gosh, it was a few years ago. And as a leader in the pack, I got to know a lot of the families a little bit, not all of them as well as I'd like to. But met them through that and knew at the time that I met them, I believe Sharlyn had already received her cancer diagnosis and was getting ready or had just finished going through her first surgery in that. So that's how I got to know them, through our community here in Legacy Park.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you get to know Hog? As I know we've honored a couple people there. One of them, Rob Tillis, who you knew Rob and Jennifer, because Rob was involved with the Scouts also, right?
Well, Rob was involved, yes, very, very heavily involved with Scouting, and his son is much older, so he had already gone through Boy Scouts. But one of Rob's closest friends, Steve Parker, was also involved with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and he had a younger son who was in Cub Scouts when my son joined. And so through Steve, I knew of Rob, but I never had the pleasure of meeting Rob and Jennifer personally. But I certainly knew of him and about them as Legacy Park families, and him as a Scout leader through his friend, Steve Parker.
Okay. Tell us a little bit, you live in Legacy Park. Tell us a little bit about Legacy Park, how they newsletters and Joanne that works and everything. Just give us the people a little bit of information on that part of the.
Yeah, so Legacy Park, I guess, is almost 2,000 homes, altogether, and a large community, but in many ways a tight-knit and small community within. There are so many activities and clubs for kids and adults, families, you name it, that there's a very large network with a lot of small, kind of groups to find your place where you fit in and be a part of the community. And the HOA and, Joanne and others are very supportive of when there's a community need. Can we use things such as our Legacy Park newsletter and emails that go out periodically to residents to let them know of specific needs. So they're very helpful when we're trying to help get the word out about an event or a need, and people band together with their neighbors and community members that they haven't met before to help. And it's a very good feeling, and one of the many things people like about living in Legacy Park and Kennesaw in general.
Mm-hmm. I first time I got involved with Legacy Park with Hog was with Rick Lane, when his wife, unfortunately, they were walking on one of the walking paths at Legacy, and a pine tree branch fell down and hit her in the back of her head and on her neck, and unfortunately paralyzed her. And we honored Rick, and what a wonderful night. And that's where I met Joanne and a lot of the different families, and just a lot of great people in that community. And like you say, the funny thing is 2,000 homes, you think there are only 150 homes the way everybody mingles and gets together. And I've been to their 4th of July picnics that they have, which are excellent. And they do concert. I mean, they really tried to keep the community involved, and they all seem to love Kennesaw.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And how long have you been in Legacy?
I moved in February 2005.
Okay, all right, that's 16 years already.
Yeah, and a lot of people in Legacy Park have lived here a long time. Tesfa moved here in 2006, and then when he and Sharlyn got married in 2009, you know, she joined him, and so a lot of people choose Legacy Park for the amenities and the family atmosphere and all the different activities for different age groups and you know, interests. You know, anything from music to tennis to what swim team, whatever, scouts, everything.
Well, I want to thank you, one, for bringing Tesfa to us, and what a gentleman and what a super person he is, and I hope we have a great evening for him. You're doing a great job. Tell Joanne you and I spoke today. Tell her I said hi. I know she's heavily involved with the HOA.
Yeah,
but, do that for me.
Absolutely. And you know, I had not attended a hog event before, but having seen announcements about the one for Rick Lane and for Rob Tallis, you know, I don't know if I told you the story about how I really came to reach out to you and to Hog, if I can share that.
Sure, please.
So after, you know, after Shar passed away, October 2020, there was a little Facebook, you know, private chat started with a few moms. Sharlyn had a lot of friends, and she was very well loved, as is Tess and her son Liam. And we were trying to figure out what could we do to help support, you know, Tess and Liam. Her family was everything to her, and we all would want people to continue to love on our families, you know, if we couldn't do it ourselves. So we were trying to figure out what we could do. And this was, you know, early November, still with a lot of COVID restrictions. And we knew that with her illness over time, you know, there's a lot of financial burden there that as you're grieving and trying to rebuild a life, you know, what could we do to kind of help them as they navigate this, and Tess as a single parent now. So we had this chat going, and Patty Kramer, who was very close with Shar, was saying, you know, what kind of fundraiser can we do? What can we do with COVID? And I said, I don't know. We're chatting back and forth, a few of us, and I said, I don't know, somebody in the community must have a template for this. Somebody must have a system already in place, because we know we have a lot of resources, and sometimes you don't know about them until you tap into them, or like you said, word of mouth. So I ended up remembering, as we were chatting, about Hog and having seen information about Hog in the past. So I said, let me check. You know, they do dinners, but I don't know what they're doing right now with COVID. I don't know if it's a possibility. But in addition to some, you know, kind of grassroots things we were doing, like one mom made sure that Liam had an awesome 10th birthday party in December, a Nerf war party, and some, you know, meals and some other things around the holidays. It was just really a blessing to be able to reach out and meet with you and find out that, yes, we're interested in meeting Tesfa and learning more about his story. And yes, we have a way to do events even without being able to do dinners in person. So it really was a godsend. It really was a blessing. So it's been a great thing to discover and learn more about and work with.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate those nice things, and I look forward to the 14th. We'll be doing it from North Star Church, and you and I'll talk between now and then. I'm going to have Tesfa and Lima there, and if you'd like to come down that night and join us, that way we can do some live things along with the virtual things. So
absolutely.
Okay, and I want to thank you a bunch, Cindy. And you know, if anybody asks you, all they have to do is give me a ring. If we can work with them and do something, that's what Hog's mission is for. to help men and going through a life-changing crisis. So
yeah, and it's been so easy and just has felt just so welcoming and warm, and I know that Shara's just smiling down, knowing that that we're gonna do this. So thank you, and thank you for all your volunteers and for your leadership.
well, thank you very much. We'll talk, and